that Simplicity was looking for that as a weakness, you got to be asking if it in fact is going to be one now.
And I think when we talk about drafting, I think the focus obviously for both teams here, I'm looking at Simplicity and how they start to kind of make things work, because they've struggled a little bit in terms of solidifying their draft. And I'm going to be honest with you, Dreadnought, I think a lot of focus has to be on Zuna. Prismat is filling in okay. He's doing better probably than most people would expect on somebody. He just has a little bit higher expectations because of his history in the HGC. But it comes down, Hostie's carrying his weight. You know, K1 and King Caffeine have been making a lot of plays, and then Zuna, you know, we still don't have a defined, I guess, hero pool for him. It's all over the place, from the double support Uther to the Jaina, the Greymane, which have not looked good. So where do we put Zuna going forward? So I think the drafts for both teams, if Team 12 can continue to solidify their drafts and maybe Simplicity kind of get a little bit going for themselves, maybe pick up a little bit of steam going into the playoffs, I think that's going to be a big focus here for both teams draft-wise, and not just for the series, but their future here in HGC.
Yeah, first, though, before we get to the draft and the impact that's going to have between the two teams, we got to be figuring out where we're going. Battleground selection coming in for both sides here. Simplicity taking off the Braxis holdout. That has been the go-to ban from them since, you know, very early on here. Team 12 wanted to rid of the Volskaya Foundry. Not a surprising ban out from them. First pick over to Infernal Shrines. Team 12 sticking to legitimately, you know, the standards coming out from them from beginning to end of the series. Understandably so, though. They should be having a lot of confidence against Simplicity.
It's one of their best Battlegrounds by far. Their record speaks for themselves, but Simplicity, they have not done well on this Battleground. And I look at it and I think, all right, Infernal Shrines, you're around the Shrines, you have that single control point that you're looking towards, that single objective point. That's something that where you expect Simplicity to do better. We've seen kind of that mix-up in terms of draft. The one game we had for Kerrigan, maybe we'll go down that route, see where we can get Simplicity to maybe shake things up and turn things in their favor.
It's going to be really interesting to see what we see unfold here for the side of Simplicity. Also, when looking towards some of the drafting out of Team 12, if we see the same trend in some of the priorities that we got against Tempo Storm of last week, Blaze is one hero that I'm going to be looking for both sides. Where does it come in for that kind of priority? I think it's going to be higher impact, especially for that kind of offlane learning that you heard both teams talking about for, you know, Simplicity. If they end up getting that kind of safer offlane, I think it'll be higher impact there for Prismat.
Diablo taken away instantly. King Caffeine, let's see where he goes. Is it going to be the Garrosh? You know, we've seen a lot of high priority on towards Garrosh. Maev obviously is going to be let through if we do see this Medivh ban. So Maev, though, Dreadnought, when we look back a few weeks, Zuna was on that Maev. It was kind of like a one game, and it said more than enough, and it was not good. And that's the nicest way I think we can put it. And after that, they continually banned it because they're like, look, we're not going to play this hero. And that it surprises me that they're not banning Maev here. Maybe they've been practicing. Maybe they got a little bit of work on it.
Yeah, I think that's got to be it, you know, given enough time. Because that was the first we had Maev, right, when Zuna came in. And I even got to talk to Calf a little bit about that on kind of like what happened in the moment. Because you heard me in the moment when that happened. I was like, I think he didn't mean to even, like, that was a Warden's Cage and he misclicked or something. And it was definitely, you know, the youth of the hero and not feeling too comfortable on it. But I feel like for sure, I mean, it's been way too relevant in the meta to ignore, you know, even for Simplicity here. And it shows. They're going to lock in the first pick, stick with it. But yeah, it does leave this kind of, you know, though I do look at this and go objectively powerful drafting, it's still like a Simplicity. I feel like, you know, you kind of got to show that there's been a lot of work here towards working with that Maev.
I do wonder if there's a possibility now with Prismat coming in, maybe Prismat's picked up that hero and we get Zuna on another melee like Sonya, maybe the Kerrigan, maybe get a little wild with the Assassins, but maybe something along those lines. We'll see as we go through this. Simplicity still figuring their way out through the drafts. Team 12, though, with Maev already being picked up, Garrosh available, not normally considered the better warrior on this Battleground, but he's so strong just on his base kit, it's kind of hard to ignore him. So we'll see if Team 12 will go that route.
Hanzo Blaze. You know, okay, so higher Blaze value, not higher 14-12, especially when looking at what we saw kind of from Tempo Storm series here. That's been one of the common adjustments from them. The Hanzo, I want to sit there and look at it, you know, I mean, it's Hanzo. I think that's probably how I describe that, by far and above the best range assassin that we have here. But not committing to a warrior after the Diablo ban, I feel like this does give at least an opportunity over to Simplicity, and they Hosty said multiple times, draft was a focus here. So I feel like this has got to be a window of opportunity that if they're going to get the wins against Team 12, that they make the play here in the draft, really find a way to gain an upper hand in that warrior kind of pool. They're going to continue down that, sticking with that Tyrael already, again, with that Diablo ban. I wouldn't even mind if they commit another one here, maybe towards that Johanna or something of the like, especially with Hanzo Blaze on a map like this with Maev on the other side. It's kind of, you know, I want to say screaming, but definitely hinting at a good Johanna pickup for 12.
I love the Tyrael pickup. Looking down at King Caffeine's, it's been one of his more successful heroes. He's very effective on that hero. See if that does continue there. Dahaka here being picked up. We mentioned the potential of a high Blaze priority. It looks like they might be focusing a little bit towards Prismaticism if they're expecting Prismat to be on that off lane, which we do as well. You take away the Blaze, you take away the Dahaka. Now all of a sudden you're putting Prismaticism on heroes that might be a little bit more squishy, a little bit more vulnerable, like the Malthael, like the potential Sonya, heroes that don't necessarily have the same survivability that a Blaze or Dahaka have.
Second guessing if they want to kind of, you know, mix things up here, give the U-turn and go with a support choke. I will say for just this matchup in this type of situation, I wouldn't mind, you know, focusing on Prismat a little bit harder. Team 12 feel like they need that. That in mind, Team 12 sounded a bit confident. You know, I can see them giving up things where, you know, not wanting to cater to that and still sticking with that objective drafting and saying, you know, it's not that big of a problem. We aren't going to worry about it too much here. They commit to that. Ban out the Stukov, assuming they're going to get a Malfurion after in their 3-4. The question is, do we end up seeing more committed here towards that warrior role? Again, after we see the Tyrael and the Diablo on the side of Simplicity.
I don't want to scare you.
Yes.
But Stukov banned, Malfurion still available. Both of these teams like a little bit of Alex Strasza. You could argue that this is their better Battleground.
I'm already scared.
I know. And from what I've seen and what we see already from the draft between the Maiev, Junkrat, Tyrael, I don't want to see it on the side of Team 12. If I'm on the side of Simplicity, I don't think that that kind of fits their play style, but that is something that they've played multiple times. So
silver linings on both sides. They have pause buttons on both sides, right? You have Bunker on one, Tyrael with Sanctification on the other. I will say I think that Hanzo plays into the playstyle of Alex Strasza far and above better than that of the Maiev Junkrat. Also the Tyrael as well. There goes that Johanna ban I was talking about before. They're going to commit to it. Malfurion what?
I really try and locking down Justin's hero pool. It's something that I talked about on Friday.
Yeah.
It's a mixed bag, and they all have different play styles, and that's kind of been my only qualm that I see with Team 12 is that I feel like they're trying to do too many variety of strategies. Their core concepts aren't really there. Yeah. They're always doing something different. Now, as we turn our attention towards the focus on the draft, ETC comes to mind despite, you know, the rise of Garrosh. I think Garrosh right now, you don't have to worry about that with Tyrael on the other side. Tyrael, Maiev, Garrosh doesn't seem likely. So if you want to have control over that front line, ETC obviously doesn't necessarily do well into Junkrat, but I don't know where I feel about Garrosh. So if you're not going to go that route, Diablo's already off. I mean, just keep it simple, I think, for them.
There it is. Still going to stick to the simple route there with that ETC for Team 12. Definitely, you know, kind of play. It by no means, you know, it's just objectively pretty good keeping the last slot open. So by no means this Simplicity look at that and then go, this is a setback. The only avenue right now where the question mark comes in is got to be in the support avenue. I will say that the Tyrael does provide multiple opportunities, or a few opportunities for other supports to come in. That doesn't have to be, you know, kind of the standard like a Rhaegar or Uther you'd see in this situation. I still don't mind the idea of just going with the Rhaegar, especially, you know, into an ETC, not having that territorial spell like the Alex Strasza. Even, I'll be honest, without the ETC, I'd still say I'd rather probably the Rhaegar over Alex Strasza, but she's shown up here in North America quite consistently, especially as of late.
If we get an aggressive hero, we have a chance for Uther. I agree with you, though. I think the Rhaegar would be the better pick here in this instance. See what they commit to. Seconds winding down. Still need a bit more here in terms of damage. Or just control all around.
I wonder if they're going to go weird like a Leo. Yeah, Rhaegar Leo then? Not an Alex on top of that. No, my goodness. Okay, I was just going to say, so in this type of situation, I already gave some of, you know, the qualms of Alex Strasza, the value of her, whether or not that's going to pay off. But then with the Leoric picked up, well, I was assuming if we see the Leo, that's definitely going to be the Rhaegar, is because now you have a lot of targets that are going to gain value out of the Ancestral Healing. And more importantly, though Junkrat, Leo, and Alex love very slow, sustained-oriented kind of team fighting, Maiev and Tyrael are on a bit different page. Tyrael can play a bit of the hybrid. He can do either or, but Maiev very much has a, you know, once we're going in, we are going to go in. And Leo and Alex are both kind of not, they're counter initiators, right? They aren't the ones opening up the fight, and I can't help but feel like that made it to where we have 3 people with 1 intent on the side of Simplicity and 2 with a very much another. But we'll see if it pays out.
Taika seems like a safe and somewhat likely pick for Team 12 if they're going to continue their standard, but maybe we'll get a little bit of mage play to kind of counter this. There's not a whole lot of lockdown outside of a Maiev.
Or a Tracer.
That is more surprising to me than probably all of these here. But we have seen this. We actually saw this in our previous series. A little bit of change up on our level 13 for Tracer, getting that extra splash damage. Instead of going into the bullet spray, which gives you the AoE on your melee attack, we've kind of seen this level 13 changed where it's whatever Kerrigan's one is, it's where it spreads, right?
Yeah.
You hit one and it kind of spreads out, almost like charged strikes to an extent, a little bit softer version of that. But we've kind of seen that change up since the Tracer changes. So I think on Infernal Shrines, maybe people are looking to that to chain those auto attacks over to a hero mixed in there. So it's something that is starting to develop that I definitely want to look further down, but we're getting it here.
The one thing I really like about this Tracer, since her nerfs kind of came in, or changes are probably the better way to put it, right? She scales in different ways, and it's hard to debate whether or not she's worse or better in what kind of spike. But she definitely is good, a lot better in the auto attack avenue and in the later stages of the game. And with those auto attacks and not going with the all-in burst, look at the front line. You know, you look at her like a Karzim now, actually, like a ranged assassin version of Karzim. Can I auto attack? If nobody can lock me down, I'm going to be a major problem. Leo Tyrael, Alex, everyone except for Maiev is going to let those autos go through here, J-How.
It's going to be a fun one to see how it plays out, as we do have game number 1 here between Team 12 and Simplicity. It's going to be Dansky on the Hanzo, which means we're going to have Cure over on that Tracer, kind of a role that he picked up. Justin going to be on the ETC, of course. Goku on Blaze. And rounding it out will be Buds on Malfurion.
In red, looking to get a win here in an upset over Team 12. It is Simplicity. We got Hosty repping it. Where is it actually Hosty here? Got him on Junkrat. We got K1 Pro on the Alex Straza. King Caffeine on the front line playing that Tyrael. Next up is Zuna. Gonna have Zuna playing the Maiev once again. And last, Prismaticism, newest member on the roster. Gonna be playing that Leo on the offlane.
No matter what, live or die, you'll always get value out of Leo.
We got Zuna back on that Maiev. I'm going to be looking for a far better performance here from him than we got out of the last time. And again, I think we're going to see, you know, a newer version. That in mind, don't know how aggressive, how successful it will be, but very much kind of at least new and improved from the first week we got that Maiev out of him.
Well, the same way you said that we're lacking CC to maybe keep Tracer a little bit more honest in her dive, there's not really a lot of follow-up on those Maiev tethers. So
no, there is literally zero.
There's so we'll see how that plays out as this game does go on.
Yeah, and that again kind of plays into that exact drafting thought process that I was having, where I was kind of a bit torn. Is like the Rhaegar is going to be the one who does well with the double high health pools with the Maiev as she goes in offensively, but then does pretty well defensively, can still scale with the slow playstyle. You know, versus the Alex caters that slow playstyle, but then Maiev feels like an awkward first pick. Right, just because everybody else is so comfortable with that slower kind of approach to the game here, and it feels like it's going to be kind of, you know, Zuna off doing one thing and the rest of the team doing another. And again, I know we've talked about the difficulties that we had first time Zuna was playing Maiev, but it very much was the case, and I don't want to see that kind of again, and I feel like it's more because of the comp rather than maybe play per se.
Zuna loves to make big plays. He's always been known to kind of be the big-time playmaker. Gets a tether onto Justin, but no real threat there as they're going to stick around, clear up this camp that was picked up here, try and get a little bit more value out of their own pushing down here in the mid lane.
I will say if there's probably going to be any North American support that makes me believe in the Alexstrasza, for some reason I think K1 Pro would be that guy. You know, he's been pretty innovative within the role once making his rotation over to it. For anybody who maybe wasn't a K1 Pro fan in the past, he's not the main support role player for a majority of his career playing the ranged assassins, and his transition over has been smooth. We've had a lot of supports kind of convert over, but I would say his is definitely one of the better ones, especially when looking at, you know, Simplicity, knowing that they're at the kind of more difficult half of North American standings. I feel like his play is not, you know, kind of indicative of how good he is, or the team's results is not as him on that support role.
I agree with you. It's kind of hard. I think sometimes if your team has better results, you probably get a little bit more recognition. You look at a guy like Xaylia over on Dignitas, instantly picking up that role. Dignitas, I think they're sitting at 11-1 after today. They're doing okay for themselves.
Yeah, they're holding their own. You know, I guess they're a decent team. Might be the way I would word it. Except for that snitch guy, you know, something about him.
Yeah.
Prismat with Prismat with a lot of pressure on top, or getting a lot of pressure on top. Excuse me. From that Tracer. Not enough to kind of go back and get a tap. He's going to be looking for the side soak as we have our first Shrine Face spawning on the top half of the map. I'm expecting the double soak with matching into the Blaze. Blaze should be able to slightly kind of pull ahead into that.
We've seen Team 12 actually do things a little bit differently at times in the laning phase during the first objective. Some teams have a different priority than others, but you can see Cure, he's safely able to take down. So if you're going to push another lane, having one person that has mobility that can get in and out of danger without the threat of being locked down, just by stealing those skeletal defenders is buying more time for the other people that are going to be pushing in the other lanes.
Yeah, it's just kind of a deny tactic from the actual objective itself, right? Try and slow the pace of Simplicity. Simplicity is committing, I don't want to say a large amount, but at least a reasonable amount, trying to get Junkrat and Leo to be able to match the Hanzo Blaze two-man 3-2 split that Team 12 has kind of enforced. 29 skeletal defenders, excuse me, 27, and Team 12 now looking to zone off. Blaze and Hanzo have made the rotation. Junkrat is going to rotate out, but he's going to be a bit slower. Wonder if Leo will make the same rotation. It seems like we will. We're going to have a 5-on-5 here on top.
Well, the thing is that level 7 was kind of the main focus, but Simplicity is really far ahead. We still have Dragon Queen available. We'll see. That kind of needs to be popped soon. There it is. As it comes out, that's generally going to be the best thing to deal with this, I guess, finishing the skeletal defenders and doing it relatively easy. So despite that priority towards the level 7, Simplicity gets so far ahead, and then this is where Alexstrasza's value comes in.
Yeah, Alexstrasza being able to secure the map objective there for them. I will say that was a moment where they were close enough where I don't know if they needed to use the Dragon Queen in that moment. Granted, it likely would have been used later, so debatably not going to be that setback. But oftentimes, you know, I just always like to see the team force you to use it before you're going to need it there. K1, though, is going to play it safe, pick up the first Punisher, and with that, take a bit of damage on the front wall. Zuna going to get tracked down by Tracer here. I don't know if we got ourselves a pulse bomb. We do not. Sitting at about 50% charge there for Cure.
See Simplicity getting the rotation down, but thwarting that Maiev there definitely messed up the rotations here of Simplicity. You can kind of see the focus to move through. King Caffeine is going to be the focus as K1 trying to get that support in. A little bit of movement speed. Tracer, just one or two auto attacks away. And remember, those auto attacks are buffed up. That's kind of one of the changes, right? It's a little bit of a trade-off. Less pulse bomb damage earlier, more auto attack damage.
Now, one thing also, pulse bomb actually going to be dropped onto Host. He has to use the concussion mine to keep himself up here. It was just out adjusting there, that knockback that we saw from him. I felt like it was a little bit early, just one of those, you know, kind of standard power slide knockbacks where you go, is this gaining as much? Something to keep track of, especially because that knockback is going to be one of the larger, you know, kind of dependent on tools for interrupt onto sanctification post 10 on the side of Simplicity. Good three-man siege here from Team 12 after getting that invade because of the aggressive positioning of Kira. They did a good job. Not only are they consuming, you know, that camp there, but then applying pressure to the bottom half, using Justing to anchor the rotations. This is just very clean dominance in rotations and taking anything they can get on the side of 12.
Well, what they're getting is 10 much quicker than Simplicity, and you can see despite that first Punisher, Team 12 had that priority towards that earlier soak, and they've gotten a 10 picked up here. Of course, Tracer always with that pulse bomb. It's going to be Malfurion, you know, after what was almost a half year of nothing but... Oh, wait a minute, Cure got to be careful. The recall is right there.
Yeah, same point, but power slide out from Justing. First blood now for Team 12 after what's, you know, might have been a bit of out of position, but it ended up to definitely be the bait there. I'm not sure if that was totally calculated, but it works out.
I'm like, well, you were kind of standing still, which means your recall isn't taking you very far, but it didn't matter. They end up getting the trade there. Cure sitting on a pulse bomb, seeing if he can find that target of Cure. Pulse bomb instead going to land onto King Caffeine. You know, since the scaling changes, Dreadnought, a lot of Tracer players, and this is something I tracked a lot of pulse bombs. I have an entire notebook full of when they used them, as Justine trying to get out of here. They are using them at a far more frequent rate now that the scaling is a little bit different because you're not guaranteeing the kills as early. So you might as well use it as more of a utility, more of a scare off, buy yourself a little bit of time, things like that.
I agree with you. Sorry, I was so distracted. I've never seen that little Shaman camp make his way all the way down the bottom and then back floor to that fort. Did you see that? The vision? I don't know how that happened, but that was pretty curious. Kind of, he was all the way on the other side there for Team 12. But yeah, the pulse bomb, the dropping of the pulse bomb, the auto attack focus now, and that is a lot of the reason why I think we saw that. You know, you brought it up and you were like, that's even more surprising to me than all the others. I purely think it's based off the idea of that changes to our auto attack space with the lack of frontliner, much like we saw the Karzim out of, what was it? I think we got a Collusion yesterday? I don't know. We got a yeah, we got the Karzim into the, you know, CC-less front lines of yesterday, and that very much is a, those heroes really, yeah, I mean, they shine in those circumstances. It's very rare you get a CC-less frontline drafts, and especially in this meta. The Team 12, they're punishing even in the draft so far.
Key player here for me has got to be Hosty on the Junkrat. He's the only real interrupt outside of maybe a Dragon Queen breath there to kind of get that knockback. But Moshpit was picked up here for Justin, so if he gets the big plays, we're going to see the Dragon Queen out. Still behind is Team 12, but they got to be careful here as they are clumped up. Nice knockback as Justin, I think, was looking for it, Dredd.
Yeah, he was, but it's not going to be there. Now we see the Entomb going down. Zuna trying to make his way out of this Warden cage. Sanctification going to drop. Justin falling very low. Zuna on the other side, though, trying to make it out. Uses the vault, follows up on that Shadow, and he will end up surviving. Dansky trying to track it down. Not going to be successful. 1-0 so far for Simplicity, but 31 skeletal defenders in the hands of Team 12. They're going to commit here. Dansky has to use the natural agility out. Cure hits the pulse bomb, and now that is their first kill. Now 4 versus 4 on this fight on mid, and Team 12's only 2 skeletal defenders out. They've got this Punisher.
Big time commitment there to make sure Team 12 got in there, but Cure coming in for the cleanup to make sure to neutralize one of the best clear that they had on the side of Simplicity with that Junkrat. So now that nets them the Punisher. That's also going to get them 13 the minute that tower falls. Fort's going down. And look at the aggression here from Cure. Dredd going 0 CC in terms of hard CC into for a Tracer. I mean, that you got to be licking your chops saying, thanks, man. This is going to be the best game I've had all day.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty successful one here for Cure and all of Team 12 so far. Goku kind of knocked over the wall with Hosi. Also, this is the second time. You were just talking about Hosi being the stand-up player, though. Prisman actually in a bad spot for a moment. Likely going to get some value out of that trait here. Not too bad, though, but catching out Junkrat on the side, actually, I believe that was from the Frozen Punisher, getting enough damage, and now Cure going to get the follow-up after that Dragon's Arrow. 3 members of Simplicity are just staggering the deaths, and now this is likely going to be a 10-minute keep.
It seemed like Fort, maybe a tower or 2 on the keep wall, but now we went all the way down the mid lane, taking a page out of Alex the Pro G stretch. Just run it down mid.
Just run it down mid. That was, yeah, definitely a really big setback there, especially with Hosi getting cut out. And what I was trying to bring out about Hosi, because I think you nailed it, you know, person to be looking out for on the side of Simplicity in this game is definitely going to be Hosi, not only for his individual performance, but the role that Junkrat has to play in these team fights. But he's actually opening with Concussion Mine twice now for an Isolation Pit. That is when Justin went for that knockup, and you praise K1 Pro. K1 had to hit that interrupt because that was
going to be big
because
time.
Hosi made a big mistake by using the Concussion Mine too early. That is just putting a lot of pressure there onto the Dragon Queen used to get that interrupt, and you know it's going to be very unlikely. So want to see a bit more patience out of Hosi, or at least more reserved with the use there out of Concussion Mine.
3-level lead here for Team 12, and it was Ricochet picked up by Tracer, so that reads it has a 50% chance to hit another nearby enemy, prioritizing heroes. So when you're on that shrine, even when you're attacking, of course, with that buffed auto attacks, you can spread those over. Of course, you're going to get much more value out of that. So the change up with Tracer continues with the level 7. Now looking to change up on the 13 as EU kind of showed North America, hey, this might be how it's done now going forward.
Camp on bottom here for 12. Got camp on mid too. Map just painted in their favor. Maev will not get dismounted there from the scouting arrow. Maybe would have been enough for a kill as we see Justin kind of sharking below. Oh, Hosi going to join the squad. He's post 13, so he can get away with that. But power slide on the King Caffeine. There's a root pulse bomb going down. Now Druin's follow-up, but not going to matter. Cure already there to cut off the escape. Another kill here for 12.
Big time plays by big time players here. Cure just feasting here on the Tracer, and right now Team 12 doing whatever they want. 3-level lead, taking down another fort. Next shrine will be here in the top lane, so they are softening this up for the potential go-ahead Punisher to finish this game early on Infernal Shrine.
Yeah, normally you want to be able to kind of hint at that this early. Wow, another catch out there onto Zuna. You normally want to hint at that, you know, kind of this early on, but just purely based on how, I mean, 7-1 in kills, 3-level lead, everything like an already a middle keep down. It's very likely there will be too much pressure from both mid and top lane for even, you know, kind of that Junkrat wave clear to be able to deal with here. Team 12 on a bit of a tear in game 1.
It's Tracer. He's killing it, man. I mean, we're talking 39,000 damage and counting. That's going to make it 42,000 plus damage here for Cure in just over 12 minutes. Riptire not going to be ripping much here, Dredd, because that's about to go down, forced to be used. But the keep, if this falls before, there's no mid-keep to bait this next Punisher to.
It's not going to get it, but let's be real here. That's a false sense of security. To be honest with you, I might even argue that leaving that keep at that HP, or maybe a fraction lower, just a tick lower, is better than getting it all the way. And that is just based on purely the idea that Simplicity goes, we have a structure. Mentally, they feel like they have it, and guess what? You do not. That Punisher is going to leap, it's going to one-shot it, and then it's going to keep hitting all the heroes whatsoever. So, you know, it's going to, even though it's not down, I think it's going to be great here for 12. We'll see if it comes to light as Team 12 trying to zone off here. Kieran not going to use the recall yet. Ends up dropping it a little bit later than I thought he might.
It's a desperate fight. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Dragon Queen is out. 28 skeletal defenders already picked up by Team 12. No 16 here on the side of Simplicity, so they're going to force the hand. Allow Team 12 to reinitiate once this Dragon Queen starts to fall.
They're going to get cut off. Look at Goku already trying to cut the escape. Nice concussion line from Posey, but he's going to flank once more. Simplicity, they go in. Cure is going to be the focus. Sanctification dropped onto 3 members, but he gets into the bunker. Tranquility now coming out for Buzz, keeping the team alive. Look at the mosh pit there, onto 2, but Cap is actually surviving. Nobody has dropped quite yet. Simplicity is holding on to this fight, J-How.
And it's all due to K1 Pro there. The Dragon Queen came down, but now there we go. There's the aggression. Zuna surviving for the moment, somehow still alive, but the Punisher picked up. Zuna goes down. Maev and Tyrael. Tyrael's going to juke out the back door there.
Look at that dismount. Justing, oh my gosh. K1 Pro getting that dismount and adjusting was huge. That would have been for sure 2 more kills minimum. Prismat able to hit the Wraith walk out. Look at this false sense of security. Will anybody even stay to defend this thing? The answer is no. Yes, that very much so. Also, you know, not having a Maev is good tell. Punisher making his way to the core. Same with Team 12. Catapult's already kind of escalating there through mid. See if they have what it takes. Is the Punisher, or the shielding on the core already gone. Punisher goes in, Pulse Bomb goes down, and Tyrael's out of here.
Tyrael dead, as will be the rest of Simplicity's core here. Prismat, just a formality here as Leo goes down. Maev is back up, but with no shields and only 60% left. That's going to be 10 kills to 1 in favor of Team 12. Nice, clean, easy victory here to start their day.
Really nice start here for Team 12. We started, you know, talking about the draft plan out of the side of Simplicity. We did see the Maev first pick picked up. I do feel like we got a better game out of Zuna. Granted, it maybe wasn't the best look as Team 12 was pretty much dominating the majority of that game from beginning to end. But other than that, you know, the kind of awkwardness of the composition, I don't even know if it really kind of came to light, really, because it was just Team 12. They got an upper lead, got a couple of picks, you know, some with really kind of optimal timing, and then just never let go of the game.
My thing that I always say when I look at a team like Team 12 is always to just stabilize the front line, allow your back line to work. And I think that what we saw there was stabilizing the front line, but then Simplicity's draft also allowed the back line of Team 12 to work. Tracer ended up 4 kills, 0 deaths, 60,000 plus damage, and is a relatively short Infernal Shrines game. Obviously, we've seen some shorter, but in terms of average time, that was a quick game. And Team 12 just, I mean, it just felt like there wasn't any pressure against them. They lost the first Punisher, but it was because they had other plans elsewhere playing around that experience game.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, you know, when you break out the number of like 60,000, if for anybody at home going like, oh, you know, that I've done 60,000 damage, that's not a big deal. Hanzo, second range DPS on the exact same team, 30,000. So literally doubling Hanzo within the effectiveness of that 14 minutes and 45-second game. Very impressive play there from Cure. And again, talking about that within the draft, that last pick, I feel like it's pretty creative there from them. And maybe, you know, going to be kind of a tell towards we will get more Tracer here now in North America.
Numbers there, also average game time in competitive, somewhere around 18 minutes. Average range damage, somewhere sits around 45,000. Top in the world is around 50,000. So when you're getting that 60+ thousand, means you're doing work.
Yeah, you're doing.
I mean, it's not bad.
Especially when your average game time, or when game time is less than the average game time. So you're showing, you're like, you know, I'm damage per minute. We are being efficient here with our heroes and with our pool. So, you know, with this in mind here, you know, Simplicity, I believe, has been one of the more comfortable to transition outside and go with the map pickup. I don't know if they're going to be looking to do that here. But if they, you know, after that loss, they go with the first pickup slot, I'm going to expect we find ourselves, you know, that like the Battlefield of Eternity, Tomb of the Spider Queens here from them. And I don't look at Simplicity and go, there's a map that's going to give them a huge advantage, to be honest. If anything, I think it's team fighting. Like any map where you can't get on macro is always a nice place to start because you know what you need to do. You got to draft a fight. You got to be able to kill your opponents. And it's pretty clear when you're like, we lost this fight, ask why, and you can find those answers. So we'll see what they end up doing, though.
Towers of Doom also comes to mind. It's been when they Towers of Doom is when they're like, look, our backs are against the wall. Let's go double support. Let's get Zuna on Uther. Then they get the lockdown. Then they get those big fights because there isn't that same type of escape back to your core, you know, in the same traditional sense. Again, BOE, I think, definitely comes to mind, as does Tomb. So I'm eager to see where we're going to go next because Tomb of the Spider Queen, what used to be kind of the primary favorite of this general roster of Team 12, has become a bit of a stumbling block.
It has been. Yeah, it's been a huge stumbling block to the point where I am very, very surprised, especially with the last 2 losses on it, that they are still comfortable picking it. But we're going to go to Battleground, see if it is Tomb, if it is Battlefield. And it's going to be Battlefield of Eternity selected here by Team 12. You know, BOE probably stands out as the most likely, again, just based on the fact that even if Simplicity went with the map selection, that is one of their highest go-tos as well.
for Team 12, sitting at 5-1 on that Battleground. So definitely a comfortable thing, but they've used